Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Live at 4 on this Monday. Mark is on vacation this week. Danica Lewis is filling in today. Thank you for your help.
Of course, happy to do it.
Did you have a good weekend?
I had a great weekend. It was beautiful out. At least yesterday was absolutely beautiful.
The weather was so nice, and then this morning it was a little on the chilly side.
It really was. I remember waking up, the window was open, and I'm like, oh my. What month are we in again?
We'll get more on the weather in just a minute, and Dr. Zorba Pastor is going to be taking your calls in just a little while, so Danica will let us know. I'll let you know when it's time to call in. Here's what's making news, though, on this Monday. Police are still trying to figure out why a mom and son were found dead inside their Sauk City home over the weekend. Our Amanda Quintana is live with an update.
The man who threw a little boy off a balcony at the Mall of America will spend nearly 20 years in prison. We will hear part of a statement from that 5-year-old's father.
And the president is in London, one of only 3 American presidents to receive such an invitation from the Queen of England. We'll recap day 1 of his trip coming up. Let's take a look outside today. As we were saying, cloudy and cooler.
Yeah, but not a bad day to take a bike ride. As you can see, some people zipping around there. Chris Reese is in with a few rain chances. And Chris, don't know if you broke out the bike to get to work today. You look a little too dapper for that, I think.
I did not break out the bike. I think the first step would actually be buying a bike. And I'm working on that one. I'm working on it. We'll get there. In the meantime, the weather today has been not all too shabby. We've had a little bit of cloud cover, but it's been filtered. The sun has been able to shine through that. Temperatures have been a little bit on the cooler side. We only made it up towards 67 degrees. That's our temperature right now. Check out the lake shore, though, where temperatures have stayed in the 50s. We can thank a region of high pressure for that, sending the cold wind off the lake. Meanwhile, in the western part of the state, things are a lot warmer. We're talking middle 70s already starting to show up. They're just fighting that cold lake breeze. As we go through the rest of today, watch those winds become a little bit more southerly, already out of the south at 8 miles per hour for us here in Madison. And that high pressure kind of keeping that milky sunshine around, folks. But we are watching chances for rain to arrive in the forecast. There's already a little complex of showers and thunderstorms over southern Iowa right now. We will talk about how that's going to impact us as we approach Maine weather. In the meantime, let's go ahead and show you guys traffic right now. This is the Beltline at Park Street. We're starting to watch the volume increase. So far, no huge slowdowns, but we are seeing some slowdowns at the Beltline, along with down on the Isthmus. We'll track the traffic for you guys, along with the weather, throughout the show.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Chris.
My pleasure.
First at 4, we are learning more about the 2 people found dead inside a Sauk City home yesterday afternoon.
Police say there are no obvious indications as to what caused the mother and son to die. Our Amanda Quintana is at the police department with the latest on the investigation. Amanda?
Yes, well, because police found 88-year-old Margaret Foss and her 63-year-old son David together, now they're working to rule out anything that might make those deaths suspicious. The police chief says that he does not think that anyone broke into the home because they did not find any signs of forced entry. And the fire department tested the carbon monoxide levels. They are ruling out any faulty heating system. An officer originally went to the home yesterday because a neighbor called in a welfare check.
Talked to the original reporting neighbor who said that they felt it was odd that the lawn had not been mowed and that mail was piling up in the mailbox. They also reported that they hadn't seen their neighbor outside for approximately a week.
An autopsy will be performed tomorrow. That will give police a better idea of what happened and how long the bodies had been there. Neighbors say the 2 had lived in that home for more than 60 years. David eventually became his mother's caretaker. They were known as kind people who stuck to themselves. Now at 6, we will hear from some of those neighbors. One man who was David's former teacher lives right around the corner, and also a friend that he grew up with there, and they'll talk a little bit about who they were.
We will see you at 6. Thanks, Amanda.
We now know the name of a man who died during the Lake Mills Triathlon yesterday. The Jefferson County Medical Examiner says 58-year-old Scott Beets of Elkhorn had some sort of medical condition during the swimming portion of that event. Rescue personnel brought him to shore and performed CPR, but he was pronounced dead at the hospital.
The man accused of tossing a 5-year-old boy over a balcony at the Mall of America learned his fate today. Emmanuel Aranda told a judge he had nothing to say before he was sentenced to 19 years in prison. Aranda pleaded guilty last month to throwing the 5-year-old off a third-floor balcony at the Mall of America, nearly killing him. Prosecutors read an emotional victim impact statement from the little boy's father.
Your act was evil and selfish. You chose to listen to the worst parts of yourself that day. You chose evil over good and chose to take your hate and hurt out on my precious boy.
The suspect told police he went to the mall on April 12th looking for someone to kill. Aranda's mother says her son suffers from mental illness and didn't intend to do this. The little boy suffered a severe head injury and has needed multiple medical procedures.
Just this afternoon, President Trump ordered flags be flown at half-staff throughout the entire country to remember 12 people killed in a mass shooting in Virginia Beach. People living there are wearing the color blue today to honor those victims. Investigators are still looking into a motive for the shooting as a memorial outside the municipal building where it took place continues to grow. A local contractor and 11 city employees died in the massacre. The suspect, Dwayne Craddock, also died after a shootout with police. Hours before the shooting, the 40-year-old emailed a resignation note to his manager. He had worked for the city for about 15 years and had a clean record. The governor is not giving up on Medicaid expansion in Wisconsin.
He's introducing a new partnership to boost enrollment in health insurance plans. Eric Franke is here in the studio with more details. Eric?
Susan and Danica, this program would link state health officials with state insurance officials to educate people about what's available to them when it comes to health care. That includes Badger Care and the federal health marketplace as well. This plan would implement Medicaid expansion if lawmakers were to approve it. But so far, any plan to expand Medicaid in Wisconsin has been rejected by Republican leaders who control the legislature.
A major piece of this initiative is the education and making options available of coverage. And so we're going to continue to promote that. We're going to see what is available for the marketplace to expand coverage for all different insureds and make sure that there are all different options available to consumers.
Again, Republicans are standing firm on any plan to expand Medicaid, which would bring more than $300 million in federal funds to the state. Joint Finance will talk health care tomorrow. And then on Thursday, they plan to vote on road funding. And as far as a gas tax is concerned, Republicans said no last week to an 8-cent per gallon gas tax increase proposed by the governor. While the governor isn't giving up on a gas tax, he says if Republicans can, quote, magically improve roads without raising the gas tax, well, he'd look at that plan. Danica and Susan.
All right, Eric, thank you so much.
Britain's royal family rolled out the red carpet for President Trump's first official state visit to the United Kingdom. The president and first lady are attending a state banquet at this hour, hosted by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth at Buckingham Palace. Both of the state heads made speeches on the importance of their bipartisan relationship, but there is a lot of controversy surrounding this trip, as CBS's Ian Lee reports from London.
A grand display of British royal fanfare welcomed the President and First Lady to Buckingham Palace. Queen Elizabeth is hosting the 3-day lavish affair. Her Majesty stood on the sidelines with the First Lady while President Trump inspected the Guard of Honor. His daughter Ivanka and other family members watched from above. Troops fired traditional gun salutes at London landmarks to mark President Trump's state visit. The pomp and pageantry is on full display around Buckingham Palace. This is just the third time an American president has been granted the honor of a state visit by the Queen. Only Barack Obama in 2011 and George W. Bush in 2003 have received the coveted invitations.
I mean, the state visit is the highest honor that a nation can pay another head of state.
Before touching down in London, President Trump fired off a trademark Twitter insult, calling London Mayor Sadiq Khan a stone-cold loser for criticizing the ceremonial visit. Khan's aide said such childish insults should be beneath the President of the United States. The two are not scheduled to meet. After a private lunch with the Queen and tea with future King Prince Charles, the President and First Lady toured a special exhibition of gifts that British monarchs and U.S. presidents have exchanged over the years. Tonight, President Trump gives a speech at an extravagant state banquet. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
And British police have a multi-million-dollar security plan in place as protests are planned during President Trump's visit.
Now, while the president is in London, Congress returns to Washington this week. And the House's first order of business is a Senate-passed disaster relief bill. Meanwhile, the number of Democrats calling for impeachment proceedings continues to rise. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was interrupted several times at the California Democratic Party's convention over the weekend with chants to impeach President Trump. The number 3 Democrat in the House, Congressman Jim Clyburn, says he believes the chamber is headed in that direction.
You think that the president will be impeached, or at least proceedings will begin in the House at some point, but just not right now?
Yes, exactly what I feel. I think we've already begun it. We've got all of these committees doing their work.
My advice to my Democratic friends is, if you want to do it, go hard or go home.
So far, more than 50 House Democrats have publicly voiced their support for opening an impeachment inquiry of the president.
There was a chaotic scene in Venice over the weekend when a 900-foot cruise ship lost control and crashed into a dock and another boat. 5 people were hurt. The cruise liner, which holds more than 2,600 people, reported mechanical difficulties as it came into port, and the tugboats trying to guide it were not strong enough. The ship slammed into a smaller tourist boat and a dock in Venice. American tourist Robert May, who's vacationing in Europe, said it was a very scary situation.
Thought for sure that it would redirect, saw the tugboats moving, continue to see it work right towards that river cruise boat and collide.
The crash immediately sparked protests in Venice. Many want to ban cruise ships, saying that they endanger the fragile canals, they dwarf the city, and they change its character. Italy's transport minister tweeted the government is close to a solution to protect both the lagoon and tourism.
Back in Madison, June is Pride Month, and you'll be seeing rainbow flags flying in front of multiple city buildings in downtown Madison. Mayor Zantia Rhodes Conway is Madison's first openly gay mayor. She spoke about the history of Pride and raised a rainbow flag in front of the city buildings today. In 1975, Madison was actually one of the first cities in the United States to ban discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. Then, 7 years later, Wisconsin was the first state to pass a law protecting gay rights.
It is so important to send a visible signal that Madison is a welcoming community and that the city is an inclusive employer.
Now, the municipal building will also be lit with rainbow colors during this month in observance of LGBTQ Pride.
Still to come tonight on Live at 4, the new Elton John biopic is getting a lot of attention.
That's right. Our resident film critic Will Loper gives us his review of Rocket Man when Live at 4 continues.
Well, recycling, as you know, is good for the environment.
But a lot of what people actually put in the green bins cannot be recycled. I'm sure I'm guilty of this. It has become a costly problem, too. Communities across the country used to make money on recycling, but that changed when China stopped taking much of our paper, cardboard, and plastic. Leaders in one Florida community were forced to make some changes.
The price of processing recyclables increased from $53 a ton to approximately $96 a ton.
Want to recycle clean, dry, and loose paper, cardboard, bottles, cans.
Cities that still collect recycling pay more when consumers leave contaminated or non-recyclable items in the bin because all of it has to be sorted out in a facility like the ones you saw in the video there.
Tech stocks fell on Wall Street today amid further fears of the effect of the tariff wars and fresh fears of a looming recession. The Dow managed to gain almost 5 points, but the Nasdaq dropped 120 points and the S&P was down almost 8.
Our sleeping arrangements get out, all of this is gone.
I just hope you realise you're choosing a life of being alone forever.
Don't you want to just sing without this ridiculous paraphernalia?
People don't pay to see Reg White. They pay to see Elton John.
Sorry.
Penny.
Sorry, I forgot my sparkly baseball uniform today.
Danica?
I'm sorry. That was a clip, by the way, from Rocket Man, one of the newest movies to hit theaters.
Is this one that you should check out? Here to let us know what he thinks is our film critic, Will Loper. I've really been looking forward to this one.
Good, and you won't be disappointed. This movie will not go breaking your heart. It's a fantastic biopic that takes us on an emotional and music-filled journey through Elton John's life. A life that's been anything but ordinary. We first see Taron Egerton as Elton checking into rehab in a bright orange bodysuit, huge wings and horns, as he begins to tell his story from small boy in the suburbs to music legend. And of course, we get all his famous songs along the way, sung by the characters as if they were in a musical. Everyone on the street stops and dances, people in a concert float in the air, and Elton literally takes off like, what else, a rocket in Rocket Man. But this film isn't just feel-good songs with people dancing. No, it makes sure to explore all the rough-edged parts of his life as well. His addictions, his loneliness, and his very strained relationship with his parents. And it's a better movie for digging into those deep, dark parts of Elton. If you like his movie, you'll love this movie. If you don't like his music, you'll still love this movie. So far, it's one of the best experiences at the movies in 2019. Absolutely go see it.
It's an incredible performance because he does the acting and he does all the singing as well.
Taron pulls it off. He sings himself. Bohemian Rhapsody kind of took Freddie Mercury's voice and combined it with the main actor, but this one, it's all Taron.
Wow, that is really impressive.
Is this biopic historically accurate?
They play around a lot with the events. They kind of shuffle around the timeline, but, you know, it is kind of sort of a surreal fantasy take on Elton's life, so it just gets the essence of his life right and doesn't really pay attention to the facts.
Well, once you're floating in a concert, I think the reality gets thrown out the window a little
we
bit.
all know at that point, yes.
So what's the rating?
Gives one 4.3 real-life Eltons out of 5.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah,
it's very good.
Looking forward to seeing it. Okay, what's coming up next week?
We've got X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Sansa Stark.
She's looking a little scary there.
She is.
Don't cross her.
All right, well, thanks. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. See you then.
We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Okay, take a look at this. Shayna cannot believe her eyes when her boyfriend Corbin walks into the room during breakfast. She is shocked because the young couple is in a long-distance relationship. Corbin is in college in Texas, traveled all the way to the University of Nebraska to see Shayna, who is about to be a sophomore at that school. Her twin Ashley set up the happy reunion and talked to Shayna's boss to make sure her shifts were covered at work for that weekend. How sweet is that?
Really kind.
For
right
someone
there.
who is long distance from family, I love this.
I do too. I love surprises like that. Well, here's a question. So how did you spend your weekend? How about a tomatina, the Tomatina Festival? You've probably seen video of this. It's a small town in Colombia for locals and tourists. And every year they have this tomato festival where they pelt each other with tomatoes. The crowd sprinted to a huge pile of tomatoes in the middle of a field. And then, wearing white T-shirts was probably a very good idea. This area, 2 hours north of the capital city of Bogota, is well known for its tomatoes. Part of the Tomatina is part of a weekend cultural festival. It marks the end of the harvest in the agricultural region. The tomatoes used in the fight are leftovers and not fit for human consumption.
That was my main question. Like, why not make some killer, I don't know, pasta sauce, pico de gallo out of that? Come on.
I'll tell you what, that makes me think of the snowball fight that they have on Bascom Hill.
Oh, yeah,
in the UW
exactly.
area. That is exactly what I was thinking of. I cannot believe my mind went to snow. But
yeah, I know it always does.
I can, right.
It's just what I thought about at this point. But hey, no snow in the forecast.
Thank
if
goodness.
there is, someone help me, please. We are looking at sunshine, a few chances for rain, but I think you guys are going to like the extended forecast, so stay tuned. I'll have it coming up. Well, we only made it to 67 degrees today. That's a couple degrees below where we should be for this time of the year. Although we did think that maybe we'd make it into the mid-70s. Some folks actually did. It was all a matter of how much that lake breeze was able to influence our temperatures. Here's a look outside right now. A little bit of a milky sky. You've got some cloud cover out there. 67 is actually where we sit right now. Notice the winds coming out of the south at 8 miles per hour. We are starting to see the influence of that southerly wind component. 70 in Janesville right now, 72 in Mineral Point and Platteville. Notice that just about all of western Wisconsin does have those temperatures that are well into the 70s. Black River Falls to our north is at 75 right now. Meanwhile, towards the lakeshore, we still have temperatures that are in the 50s and 60s. High pressure just over Lake Michigan is actually helping to bring in that lake breeze. That colder air off the lake is what's keeping these temperatures cooler there, but the high pressure is also working to keep some of that sunshine around that we still see outside as we speak, and ultimately making for a beautiful day. That milky cloud cover that we've been looking at has essentially been coming from the south and west. That's where they have a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. As for us, we are free of the showers and thunderstorms, at least for now, here in south central Wisconsin. We'll zoom things out just a little bit. You see those showers and thunderstorms that have essentially been racing right along that I-80 corridor from Nebraska, now moving towards central Iowa. That'll be approaching places such as Davenport as we go through the next couple of hours. All of this, folks, is actually being driven by a warm front that's straight from the high plains all the way through the Midwest. Meanwhile, high pressure is going to be working its way towards the south and east. That's where we're going to see more of a southerly wind take over into tomorrow. Watch the warm front get even closer to us. There's a chance for some showers and thunderstorms, especially south on Tuesday morning. I think most of that trends towards the south. That warm front moves towards the north throughout the day tomorrow. Watch the cold front then coming in from Canada. That's going to bring another chance for showers and thunderstorms, likely Tuesday night and into the early morning hours on Wednesday. Behind that, folks, it's high pressure. That's what's going to dry us out as we go through the rest of the work week. Let's take you hour by hour, a little bit closer to home. Here we are tomorrow morning. Check out these winds coming out of the south. You'll notice those temperatures likely into the mid and upper 50s, some low 60s showing up. Closer towards the state line, we'll have that chance for showers and thunderstorms. So we cannot rule out that you will not need an umbrella as we move into tomorrow. There's a chance that you will need that umbrella in time. But by the afternoon, a little bit more sunshine. We'll see those temperatures into the upper 70s. Watch tomorrow night. It's the northwestern sky. That cold front comes in. It's going to drag in more chances for some showers and thunderstorms. I don't think it's going to be a washout at all, folks. Get outside and enjoy the day. And thankfully, a lot of those rain chances are coming during the overnight hours. High pressure takes over on Wednesday. That means the sunshine comes back and the temperatures are going to be rather comfortable. But folks, I think we're going to be staying dry as well. As we move towards the weekend, we're watching this cutoff low, though, that's going to traverse across the central part of the country. As it does so, the question that we ask is how far north that actually gets. Right now, it is trending like it's going to stay to the south, which would mean good news for the weekend. But if we can get it just a little bit more towards the north, that will mean potential rain chances this weekend. So fingers crossed that we are able to keep your weekend forecast dry. We're going to be watching that very closely. In the meantime, just keeping a slight chance for some rain around for your Saturday and Sunday. But over the next 10 days, you're actually going to notice one thing. Our average temperature goes from 74 all the way up towards 77. We'll gradually, though, keep our temperature steady into the mid-70s going through the next couple of days. But tonight will be mostly cloudy. We'll see those lows right around 57 degrees. Then tomorrow, 78, breezy and mild. Again, we cannot rule out at least a chance for some showers and thunderstorms, but I do think most folks will be asleep as that comes on through. Check out how many days of sunshine we have in this forecast. 2 days of 80 just about every day at 75 or beyond. Hit the pool, folks. Or as I like to say, I don't know who has a pool, but I'll be there.
I like that. I like that. I'll be there.
I will be there. If you're having a barbecue, I will be there. Just go ahead and count me in.
Nice sunny stretch and nice sleeping weather too.
A great stretch after all. And you can open the windows at night. I've been doing that, and it has just been really comfortable. So this is bliss, folks. Enjoy it before we have to tell you something different.
That's true.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Chris.
Anytime.
A Gainesville, Florida couple decided to have a nice date out on a local lake, but were surprised by an unwanted visitor.
Yeah, little did they know it would be interrupted by a hungry gator. No thank you. Jocelyn Howard reports.
Comes swimming up, right up to the bank, and he just looks us dead in the eyes. And then he immediately just sprints up onto the beach.
A romantic dinner gone wrong.
Yeah, we were in shock, so we just hauled tail the other way and watched it happen.
Taylor Fort planned a picnic spread for her fiancé Trevor Walters on Thursday, a special date night before Trevor leaves for the Marines for 10 weeks. Little did they know it would be interrupted by a hungry gator.
He annihilated an entire block of cheese, gobbled it down, lickety-split. The salami didn't stand a chance.
Washed down with half a watermelon and a pound of grapes.
And then the worst part, he goes over, we had this big bowl of guac made. He eats the whole bowl. He put the whole bowl in his mouth and just
But Taylor and Trevor were not going down without a fight.
So I learned this technique back when in my childhood to scare away bears. You get up and make yourself big and make loud noises to scare it away. It's called a bear scare.
And apparently it worked.
It really worked, the bear scare.
Yeah.
For real.
Because, what alligator will come up and steal food at a picnic like that? It's like Yogi the Bear.
Experts say a gator that has been fed before.
It sounds like that alligator has been fed previously, and he has lost his wariness of people and is beginning to associate people with food.
No fear of
None.
humans. No respect for our picnic.
Parker says a fed gator.
Oh no. They're certainly in high spirits.
That storytelling is second to none right there. And bear scare for gators too, I guess.
No, it's a good reason why you do not feed wild animals.
No,
yeah,
especially alligators.
Right, then they get used to it and then you have a big problem.
Yeah, exactly.
When we come back, we've heard about problems with people eating those colorful laundry pods.
Yeah, apparently that issue has not gone away either.
A new study looks at poisonings from liquid laundry pods. I'm Hillary Lane with more on the dangers for kids and adults.
Liquid laundry detergent packets, as you know, are very popular for their convenience.
A new study suggests, though, more needs to be done to prevent poisonings. Hillary Lane has more.
New research finds U.S. poison control centers receive nearly 73,000 calls over 5 years for liquid laundry detergent packets. Despite a new product safety standard adopted in 2015, the study in pediatrics shows only an 18% decrease in exposures in children under 6. 8 deaths were associated with ingestion of the packets, 2 in children under 1 year old and 6 in adults with a history of dementia.
If you have young children or you have at-risk older seniors, these really shouldn't be in your house.
The study also finds eye injuries from the popular products are increasing in adults, with 700 people ending up in the ER last year.
They pop and they squirt up into your face. And if you get in your eye, it can be a significant injury.
Henry Spiller is the director of the Central Ohio Poison Center at Nationwide Children's Hospital. He says more needs to be done to prevent accidental exposures.
We'd like them to individually wrap the laundry detergent packets. Right now it's voluntary and they haven't.
Researchers say liquid laundry detergent packets are more toxic than the traditional liquid and powder, and that more study is needed to determine how the packets can be made less toxic. Hillary Lane, CBS News, New York.
About 6% of exposures, by the way, in this study resulted in serious medical outcomes.
Speaking of medical outcomes, if you have a question for Dr. Zorba Pastor, now's the time to pick up the phone.
Yep, that number to call, 270-9933. We'll be back with him from his clinic in Oregon coming up.
Of course, we're watching that evening commute for you guys as folks begin to head home. Let's go ahead and show you guys how the Beltline is shaping up. And yes, of course, why wouldn't there be? There are backups at this time of the day on the Beltline. It could be worse, though. Keep that in mind. This is the Beltline at Park Street right now. You're seeing high volume and slow moving traffic in both directions, but especially that eastbound direction. This is where a lot of those speeds range anywhere from about 14 miles per hour upwards towards 30 miles per hour during some of the fastest stretches. That worst area is going to be between Verona Road all the way just past John Nolan. Speaking of Verona Road, let's head that direction. Of course, the Verona Road and County Highway PD project causing some slowdowns. You're moving anywhere from about 8 miles per hour to 11 miles per hour. So pack the patience if you are headed home in that direction. Elsewhere on the Beltline, things are moving smoothly. That slowest stretch is going to be eastbound from Verona Road over towards John Nolan. That'll take you about 11 minutes with an average speed of 23 miles per hour. Guys.
All right, thanks, Chris. If you're worried about whether too much coffee is bad for your heart, fear no more. Research funded by the British Heart Foundation found drinking up to 25 cups of coffee a day is no worse for your heart than drinking less than a cup each day. Previous studies suggested drinking coffee can cause arteries to harden and could lead to a higher risk of a heart attack or stroke. This is the best news I've seen all day.
100%.
We're taking your calls today for Dr. Zorba Pastor. We have 2 lines open if you want to give a call.
That's right. That number 270-9933. And we have a number of calls already. Let's say good afternoon to Dr. Zorba.
Hi, Zorba.
Pastor. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Good to see you guys. I do not drink 25 cups of coffee a day.
Contrary to popular belief, right?
I'd be like this. Right.
No, I don't either. I love it, as I talk about all the time, but not quite that much. Okay, let's go right to the phones.
25 cups.
Since people are waiting to talk to you. And we'll start with Linda in Janesville. Hi, Linda. What's your question?
Hi. Well, I was told about 5-6 years ago by a doctor that my feet are arthritic and I've got lumps on them and they're very painful and it's getting worse. What possibly could be done?
Well, first of all, it's hard to say exactly what you have in terms of arthritis. You could have gout, because gout would produce something called tophus, which are the swelling that can occur in your feet, and then a drug that basically reduces the uric acid in your body will help with gout. Could be from rheumatoid arthritis, a bunch of other things that can actually cause swelling in the feet. One of the best things you can do is go back to a doctor, get a diagnosis made, get an x-ray of your foot made to see exactly what you should do. But I think if you've got painful feet and you've got swelling and you don't have a diagnosis, you need one for sure.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go over to Jeannie now from Prairie du Sac. Jeannie, what's your question?
Jeannie, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead. What's your question?
Hi. Hi there. I was wondering, lime in your water, is that dangerous for cooking or in fact for putting it in baby's formula?
So what in your water? I didn't quite get that.
I think it's lime.
Oh, lime in the water. Well, first of all, if you're going to be giving water to a baby, especially if it's in well water, you want to get it tested. You want to get it tested for nitrates and see if it's safe for your baby. That's totally different than for adults. Pretty much for adults, they can tolerate a lot in their water, and lime in the water should not produce any trouble. But once again, the county will actually test the water and see whether or not it's safe for drinking. When in doubt, get it tested for sure.
All right, very good. Let's go to Terry in Oregon. Hi, Terry. What's your question?
Hi, good afternoon, doctor. I was diagnosed with Lyme disease a couple of years ago. I was lucky enough to have it cured by the shot, antibiotics. Do you develop any kind of antibiotics to it once you have it?
You mean a resistance to it?
Once you actually have Lyme disease, if you get the appropriate antibiotics, you're cured from Lyme disease that time. But you can be reinfected, just like you can get strep more than once. You can get Lyme disease more than once. And basically, if there's any doubt about it, go in, get a Lyme test, and see whether or not you have it again. But once you're actually cured, we don't check for the cure, because there's really no way to check to see. We just assume a course of antibiotics will work as long as your symptoms have gone away.
Yeah, it's good to hear right there. All right, let's go to John in Madison. John, what's your question?
I'd like to find out what causes fatty liver.
eating too much food generally is what causes fatty liver. It's basically a result of diabetes for the most part. People who are diabetic often get fatty infiltration of the liver, as it's called, but also people who are overweight are much more likely to have it. It's a problem with the food we eat and the amount of food that we eat. And when you get it, there'll be an abnormality in your liver function test, and you can actually get a hepatitis, a swelling of the liver. So it's very important often for the treatment of fatty liver to lose weight, to exercise, and to just really eat a better diet.
So it is something that's reversible. You can help yourself by changing your diet.
You bet. It is something that is treatable. It may be partially reversible or completely reversible, but it's definitely a lifestyle issue that has developed. Right.
Okay. Yeah, good to hear. Larry over in Dodgeville. Larry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your question?
I got a sleep problem. I wake up every couple hours. On the hour, I can't sleep, get slept out. I got osteoarthritis and fibromyalgia, and I've had sleep apnea studies and CPAP machines, and nothing seems to be working. I'm wondering what the next step is.
Well, if you've got osteoarthritis and sleep apnea, one of the first things you want to do is, and other medical problems, is have somebody, a doctor, certainly a pharmacist, go through all your meds and see whether or not any of your medications are interfering with your sleep. Some medications actually, such as over-the-counter decongestants, will actually wake you up. So you want to look at your medicines first to see if that's part of the problem. Then, if there's nothing in the medicine that's keeping you awake, you want to look at some other safe things to actually take to help you sleep. You want to look at something called sleep hygiene, getting your room sort of all set up and so on. But there are medications that can be used that are safe. A drug called gabapentin, which we commonly give for chronic pain, is very good for sleep. Another pill called doxepin, which is an antidepressant in very low dose, will help people sleep. But it's something you really want to get evaluated in total to see what you're doing, what your medicines are, and how you can sleep better.
Sleep is so important, and it seems so elusive for so many of us. Yeah.
You bet.
That's all the time we have today for your calls. Thanks, everybody, for calling in. Zorba, great to see you.
Great to see you guys.
We'll see you again next time.
Yep.
And we'll be right back. little cool outside.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it has been a chillier day, but tonight's going to stay a little bit milder. We're going to get a southerly wind and a bit more cloud cover. Expect those lows to be into the upper 50s, not the upper 40s, the upper
That's
50s tonight. So there will be a small chance of rain, especially down near the state line. We could see some showers early on tomorrow. I think we'll see some sunshine in the afternoon, and then those temperatures will be in the upper 70s and close to 80 degrees for tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, that'll be perfect.
Find me at a pool. We don't know what pool, but I will be there and just laying out and having a great time with the nice weather.
Yes. And let us know where that is.
I will. I've got you covered.
All right, thank you, Chris. Here's what's coming up tomorrow on Live at 4. We'll be taking your calls for Lisa Briggs at the Bruce Company. She'll be answering all your gardening questions.
And you may be paying some hidden fees when you buy something, so we're going to tell you how to spot, negotiate, and avoid those extra fees altogether. We'll be right back.
Today in our final touch, a piano player for the ages.
That's right. Wanda Zarzajka is one of Poland's oldest and most talented residents. She's still